All right, hey guys. Uh, we've now moved into division. I had you watch those videos. That gives just kind of a basis, and a lot of whenever I watch him, the Math Annex, I find out a lot of times we do a lot of things the same way. There's a few differences, and that's going to always happen with math. There's tricks and stuff that people use that's different than someone else. Doesn't mean you're doing them wrong. I've always been a teacher that's, if it comes out right, however it works for you, I'm good with. And unless I start seeing multiple mistakes, that's when I step in and say, okay, let's try it this way. But so hopefully you're seeing some different views. You can always YouTube different looks at things, or Google search division, long division, that kind of thing, or in any subject that you're in math. But I had you watch those. I think most of those stopped with the remainder. So let's. I'm going to show an example here. Let's say I had 3 and I was going into 4, so just a really small division first, okay? And what they had you do is 3 goes into 4 one time, okay? 1 times 3 is 3, subtract, and they had you write a remainder of 1, I believe. Okay, so that was where it stopped. Let's do one a little bit bigger and then go from there. But let's say we had 5 into 264 or something. Okay, so 5 into 264, they had you go number by number and start dividing. Now, one thing that I like to do, some were having you start here and then going into 26 and that kind of thing. But they should, I think most of them showed you they go number by number. And you always have to write something above these, otherwise your number's going to be off, your answer's going to be off, you're going to be missing spaces, it throws off the answer. What I like to do is check it number by number, and if it doesn't go in, some put a 0, I actually have us now put an X, so that space is just gone and it doesn't look confusing to have a 0 in front of there. So what I mean is 5 does not go into 2. So I just mark a spot right here so that I don't put anything above the 2, but yet I'm not off on my numbers, okay? So 5 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 26 5 times. Okay, 5 times 5 is 25. And then you subtract, and you bring down your 4, okay? And 5 goes into 14 2 times without going over. And this is where the videos would have you put remainder 4. And that's fine, that's what you learned in grade school, and that's what you learned to kind of stop at and put that remainder. We are not going to be doing this anymore. Meaning in real math terms, that doesn't mean anything as far as a value. It does, I want to be careful here. It means you have 4 left over, but as you go on in math, you're going to need to know what that 4 left over means. Either it's a decimal or a fraction or something you can work with, okay? So that's how you start the division. I wanted to show that little thing where I put an X there and then put the remainder. But we need to know what to do then with that remainder, okay? And that's where we're going to start with what I'm teaching here. So let's go back to let's say I've got 4 and going into 10, okay? And what I want to use this example of is cookies, okay? Because I like talking about cookies. It makes me excited and hungry at the same time. And that would be hexangry, something like that. But basically, let's say I had 10 cookies and I had 4 students to distribute those 10 cookies to. Okay, and so I want to give them each an even amount of cookies. And so I'm giving these out, and I want to know, what that means. So how many, I've got these 10 cookies. I'm going to split them up to 4 kids. And so we know, okay, you can put the X here if you wanted, but 4 goes into 10 2 times. And I've got these 2 cookies left over. So every student would get 2 whole cookies. And that would be 8 cookies. I give, let's say, we'll come up with names. These lucky people get cookies: Johnny, Mike, Sally. Math, you ever notice math, people have kind of different names, unless your name's one of these, sorry. Mike's, well, they're all, I guess, common names, and Sue. Okay? Well, if everybody got 2 cookies evenly, that'd be 8 cookies. I'd have enough for that. Well, then I'd have this remainder of 2 cookies. Now, in real world, if I was doing this, those 2 cookies would be mine. I'd be like, oh, sorry, can't divvy these up. I get them. But if we wanted to know, like, mathematically, and I wanted to, let's say I was on a diet, and, like, I need to get rid of these cookies. Or let's say my sister made the cookies, and I'm like, I really don't want to. Let's say I want to divvy those up, then I've got to figure out, well, what's this remainder to me? What do I do with this remainder to? I have 2 cookies left over. What do I do with it? Now, where we're going to start is making it a fraction. Fraction's a lot easier to do with, and I know students hear that fractions aren't easy. Well, to do this and to stop, it really is. It's easy to do. All you do is you take your remainder and you put it above your divider. Okay, 2/4. That's all you do. Now, we have, as you go into the fraction lesson, we'll learn more about that. But this one I started with because it's pretty easy. 2/4 reduces down to 1/2. And we're going to learn about fractions later. But if we know that reduces down to 1/2, that means each student would get 2.5 cookies. See, I could take those 2 cookies and give each one a half. Like they get a half, Johnny gets a half, Mike gets a half. So I broke that one in half, they each get a half. There's one of my cookies left over. And then Sally got a half and Sue got a half. There's the other cookie broken in half. So every student would get 2.5 cookies. That's what this means. So that way it takes it out of the realm of just abstract, a remainder of 2, and it actually shows you what you would do with those 2 cookies. You would break them in half and every student would get a half. So 2 2/4. But the process of it's pretty easy. You just take the remainder and put it above the divider. So, divisor. So let's go back to a bigger one. And let's go, let's do 286. So 5 doesn't go into 2, but it goes into 28 5 times. Okay. Bring down the 6. Goes into 36 7 times. And you've got this remainder of 1. Well, all you need to do is take the 1 and put it above the 5. Okay? So that's all you have to do. So it's kind of like the problems that you started doing with remainders, except you just take the remainder and put it over the divisor. Okay? So that's what I'm going to have you start with, taking this remainder and actually making it a math value. Okay? So 1/5. So, you know, in our example, if I had 286 cookies, okay, let's say I had like a cookie workshop that I had, you know, people working for me, and I just made that many cookies, and I had 5 students. They're going to have a good day. Either that or they're going to get really sick. But each student would get 57 whole cookies, and then I'd have this 1 cookie left over, and I would break it up into fifths if I wanted to get rid of it, and everybody got it even, and I had like a little measurement. Every student would get a fifth of a cookie, okay? So they would get 57 whole cookies and then a fifth of a cookie, okay? So that's what you're going to do with these. So I'm going to have you do some, okay? And turn these into fractions. So all you got to do is take the remainder. These are not going to come out evenly. So you're going to have a remainder, and I want you to make that remainder a fraction. Okay? And it's the same thing if the number's even bigger, like this number 4. I'll do one real quick. I forgot to do one in the that's 8,796. Let's say I'm doing 11 into let's do 150. Let's do 157. Okay, so 11 doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 15 one time. Bring down my 7. Goes into here 4 times. And I have this remainder of 3. Well, I take that 3 and put it above 11. Okay? I put the 3 above the 11. So it doesn't matter how big this number is. It's the bottom of the fraction. And then another thing I don't want you to worry about is reducing. So like that one that was 2/4 at the beginning, don't worry about reducing that down to 1/2. Just write the remainder above it. Leave it like that. We're not going to be reducing fractions yet. Just leave it like it is. That way I know you're doing the process right. And then later when we get into fractions, we'll talk about reducing. Okay? So start with these. This is going to be, today's assignment. Now my night class, I'm going to have the next video as well. So you'll have both together, but start with these. Okay?